actually fun a lot. I came up with that term, nerdcore hip hop. Some people opted into using it, which is awesome. Now I think of it not even as a thing that you have to decide whether you're part of or not, although everyone's welcome to. It's just this sort of adjective that people tend to use to describe a lot of rappers who do their own thing and find their own audience on the internet, and who tend to have the tools to do that, which means they can produce themselves on their computer, they understand how to get a hold of certain kinds of software, they know how to administer a web server, maybe they know how to hack into Kanye West's MySpace and tag themselves rapping at the end of his hit single and get 400,000 plays off of that, etc. So these are sort of the kinds of things that would make people go, oh, is that rapper a nerdcore rapper? I seem to have heard like every NES game of my youth when I listened to his record. I seem to hear him talking about math. I just seem to think of him as a dude with glasses who spends as much time rapping at the computer as he does like trying to impress like flesh beings.
I was already making hip hop. I've been writing traditional, what you can call traditional hip hop, since the early '90s. Huge fan of the the old school things like that. Being brought up on the East Coast. But I decided for my second project that I would experiment and branch out and go and find my favorite video game and then do a dedication album to it. And my favorite game was Mega Man, and since my little Mega Man guy here. So Mega Man was a series that they had about 9,000 Mega Man games, and they all had great music, and the music was always very memorable. So it led me to start to combine that with hip hop, adding some drums to it, maybe chopping some samples and loops, and still using that creative edge from hip hop of sampling and things like that. So I made the album. It's called Mega Ran instead of Mega Man. I was really afraid of the legal ramifications behind it, so I didn't promote it much. It was mainly a very underground word of mouth internet thing. But as we know, the internet can blow things up pretty well. If you don't know that, search Epic Beard Man, and you'll see. But things just really take off really quickly. So next thing you know, it's on a lot of big websites. It's on IGN, it's on Kotaku, and a lot of other huge gaming sites. And so then I got a MySpace message from a guy at Capcom. And at this point, my heart drops. It's like, here we go. This is the end of the line before I even get started. And the guy's like, hey, I heard you're doing a Mega Man album. And I'm like, gulp. And so eventually he says, don't worry, this isn't a cease and desist letter. Actually, we really like it and we want to help you promote it. We're doing Comic-Con next month. Do you want to come out? So that was when myself, Whitey Cracker, and a lot of other guys got to perform on their stage. So later on, it went to, from just an idea in my head, something I was afraid to do, to something that turned out to not only be beneficial online, but profitable, because I asked them, I was like, well, I'm going to just give it away for free. And they were like, nah, sell it. And I'm like, do you guys want to cut? And they're like, nah, sell it.
That illustrates very well something that I feel like you were sort of bringing it to. You're talking about like a selling point, right?
Yeah.
A hook, a niche, which Nerdcore certainly works as, because that's why there was something to put on the door of this room. Nerdcore 101. Oh, that's a thing. What is it? And definitely people, maybe they find that culturally that speaks to them, something about being nerdy or the topics that are addressed in it. But do all of you, find that you, having established yourself within that realm, do you chafe a little at it? Like, do you feel like you have to be nerdy to keep the fans you have? Do you ever wish, or do you fear at all that like they wouldn't accept something from you that was just like something that a person with friends would rap about?
Well, I do both. I constantly do both because my roots are in quote unquote traditional hip hop, and so that's where my heart is primarily. So I do both. Usually once a year I release what can be considered a conscious or traditional hip hop album, as well as one that could be considered a nerdy album. So that way, I'm able to please both audiences, but more importantly myself, because there's two sides to me, and I feel like if I wasn't able to get that out and express that, then I go crazy. I can't just be one way all the time, hence the name Random. So yeah, I like to kind of keep doing different things. So if I wasn't doing that, I don't think I'd be happy making music. So I try to do that for myself at least.
How about you guys? Are you happy?
Jesse said this interesting thing in one of the documentaries we were in, where he's talking about like, not shoehorning like a Linux command or something like that. Like you don't like look for places to put the stuff. Like how can I make the song as nerdy as possible? But generally like just the natural progression of like, instead of if you rap what you know, and like so if what I know, I mean I still spend money, I still do dark science, still smoke organic matter, still do everything that like I guess
Generally dislike women.
Yeah, generally dislike but like part of it though is just like it's the lyrics and stuff that I throw again, like just like if you were to transplant pretty much what you would hear in a traditional hip hop song about like life and living it and stuff, and just the way that I'm doing it, on the internet, and that's where I make my money and stuff. Like I'm not in the trap slanging white, I'm just doing my thing. Like
He never raps about going outside at all.
Yeah.
Whitey Cracker over there had his own little dynasty already going. Want to tell people about that a little bit?
Yeah, my background comes from like computer security and spamming stuff. So in '99, I got convicted for hacking into NASA and the FAA and NATO and Nissan and Honda and all this like just crazy. And
You were defacing their web pages,
defacing
right?
the website. Yeah, like basically like it's like the 4 elements of hip hop, like when it's graffiti, and so it's basically like the internet's form of graffiti. So like replacing like the front page of NASA with like my own text and graphics, and basically like my music is more traditional in the sense that like it's a lot like the mainstream hip hop that you hear, except instead of like talking about slinging drugs and banging guns, it's like about hacking web servers and spamming and selling Viagra and those kind of things. So like
The thing I think that's weird about you, Whitey Cracker, is that you are like a genuine criminal, and like you are sort of the scum of society.
I am.
Like you're spamming us constantly.
I must say.
You've got exploits and botnets and the whole bit. You're what's wrong with the internet.
Right, absolutely. I am personified as the dark side of the internet. So that's like where I guess my angle in the music has come in, is like I've gained like I guess tangential like fame just based off my background. And I think if it wasn't for that background story, I probably wouldn't be very interesting either. Late in the evening, or is it morning? Couple days sat awake and I see me yawning. James Bonding, pinging and I ain't responding. Mission accomplished, yeah bitch I'm pawning. Roll out the crib, white head on the crest. Spam tech like a badge on the right of my chest. Blip blip on my iPhone, I flip my wrist. SSH to my box, page down the next. My stats look good, what about my checks? Say so many digits is a Google flex. Rotation of the earth like my spam subjects. Perplex the best, the wicked get no rest. Say slide in my Chrysler, the blades and slice your mesh grill on the front, just to entice your iPod on the dash. Nerd life supreme, track to the spam tech audio stream. Still live my life like the perfect dream. There ain't a soul that can touch me on my team. Say district attorney set out on journeys, then I lead them on like a weekend at Bernie's. Feds on the same try collecting my combos. See me on AIM talking to all the blind hoes, condos, coast to coast, wireless enabled. When they said the sniff, I switched to cables. IPs bounce through multi-nations. I keep confidential like doctors' patients. It's nerd life and it's DG death. Represent DG to my dying breath.